It's been quite a few years since I've been in high school, but whenever the principal comes up, I still go. My name is Joe Laskowski. I'm with the American Heart Association. Can everybody hear me? Good. I welcome you to this launch of CPR Anytime for Owensboro High School, including other high schools and middle schools in the surrounding areas of Davis County, McLean, Muhlenberg. Did I say it right this time? No, I didn't. No. I was told I wasn't saying Louisville right either. But I'll just continue my process of not pronouncing the cities correctly, and I apologize for that. Before I call up our first guest to speak, I want to put this in proper context for you to understand why we want you to learn CPR. It has to do with the chain of survival, and there are 5 links in the chain of survival. The first link is you call 911, the second link, bystander, the third link, the automatic external defibrillator. You have one right in the hallway, I can see it here. The fourth link is EMS comes on the scene. And the fifth link, if everything went according to what we hope will be the proper procedures, you will be having a patient discharged who's upright, breathing, mentally alert, and going to cardiac rehab. But we all know that any chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and the weakest link is bystander CPR. And I've always been puzzled. I've been in this medical business since 1968, and I've always been puzzled why the bystanders dismiss their importance. And your action for someone who has a sudden cardiac arrest or heart attack is paramount, meaning that one needs to respond almost immediately to a patient who's had this event. Because without your immediate action, when EMS comes on the scene, they have nothing to work with. And we call that viability. And if they don't have anything to work with, when they transport the patient to the hospital, they don't have anything to work with. So it's upon you that we place our trust. And why are we teaching students? The reason for it is that we want you to go home and teach your parents, grandmas, grandpas, using this kit that you'll keep so they learn the skill of CPR. I've talked to many fire chiefs, and I cover 5 states, but particularly Kentucky, and many of them have said in the 21 years, particularly this one gentleman said in 21 years of going to cardiac arrest, I can tell you I've had only 2 occasions where someone was doing CPR out of 21 years of going to cardiac arrests. That's sad. Now, approximately 400 to 500,000 people a year suffer from a sudden cardiac arrest and do not survive in the United States. In fact, I can tell you that every 32 seconds, someone has an event. And most of them occur at home. So it's incumbent upon the bystanders, who would be the family members, to respond immediately. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that when you start CPR on this individual, your mother, your father, grandpa, whoever it may be, that there will be a successful outcome. But I can tell you, if you don't start CPR, what the outcome will be. It will not be successful. We want to reverse the trend. And this second link in the chain of survival, bystander CPR, has a direct correlation to out-of-hospital cardiac survival, meaning that if people start CPR, better yet if they have an AED, automatic external defibrillator, we know that CPR alone will double the chance of survival. If you use an AED, it can triple the chance of survival. And we want to put the odds on the favorite part of this whole process, that is, you're doing something so that when EMS gets on the scene, they have viability, they do what they do best, then they transport to the hospital, they do what they do best, the patient is discharged and has another holiday, views another sunset, has an anniversary, enjoys retirement. There's a couple fellows in this audience that are looking towards that, some happily and some not so happily, but we all will retire. But we want them to have another day. But it all begins with the second link in the chain of survival. So that's the context that I want to put this in. And right now it's my pleasure to introduce to you the President and CEO of Owensboro Health, Mr. Philip Patterson. Thank you. long walk.
Hey, it's the first person down. I didn't trip. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning for this important announcement, and thank you, Joe. I am Philip Patterson, President and CEO of Owensboro Health, and I'm glad to be here with all of you this morning. As Joe said, heart attacks are the leading cause of death across the United States in adults, and 88% of those heart attacks occur at home. And I just got a tweet. Sorry if I didn't turn that off. You all understand. I'm just trying to fit in. Owensboro Health gives a community benefit program. We are partnering with the American Heart Association to provide CPR training to over 2,500 students across our region. This $75,000 grant will provide potentially life-saving training for our youth in CPR through the CPR Anytime program. This initiative has received overwhelming support throughout all of our local school districts, and as a result, students in Owensboro Public School System, here where we are today, as well as the Davis County Public School System and the Owensboro Catholic School System will benefit from this training. We're also very proud to say that this partnership will provide CPR training for the students in Breckenridge, Hancock, Henderson, Hopkins, McLean, Muhlenberg, Ohio, and Webster County school districts. Through this program, it is hoped that students that are trained will take these kits home and train their family members, thus exponentially increasing the number of available first responders that we have in the community. At Owensboro Health, we are partnering through the region to provide resources that is needed to reduce cardiac arrest by improving outcomes and ultimately fulfilling our mission, which is improving the health of the communities that we serve. The importance of this training cannot be overstated. We are proud to partner with the American Heart Association to teach these life-saving skills to the youth in our community. Therefore, now I'd like to call up Dr. Nick Brake, the superintendent of Owensboro Public School System, to mention how the schools will work through this system. Thank you.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you today. I remember when I was a student, probably a little younger than you all in middle school, disco dancing was the thing. And we had to learn to disco dance to the Bee Gees and the hit song Stayin' Alive, right? You guys raise your hand if you've heard the Bee Gees and Stayin' Alive and dance to Stayin' Alive. Now, I'm not going to do a demonstration of the dance that I learned. I don't know that I could even begin to do that justice, but I hear that Stayin' Alive is the song that the beat that you keep when you're actually doing CPR. If you can keep the rhythm of staying alive, and you learn CPR that way, so it's great that that song that I learned to disco dance in 7th grade is now going to be an enduring hit for teaching CPR. And we are very proud to launch this effort at Owensboro High School today. I want to take a moment, first of all, and thank our partners, Joe with the American Heart Association, Philip, who you just heard from Owensboro Health, just one in a whole list, and I could name the whole list of partnerships that we have with Owensboro Health. This is just another example of how we work together to improve the quality of life. And our job, really, our top priority is for you all to use education as a mechanism to improve your life. And the implementation of the CPR courses through our curriculum here, I know we have some partners from the Owensboro Catholic Schools here, Ken Rasp, my counterpart there, will be doing the same type of infusion through the middle school and through the high school using our health curriculum here. But if you think about the program, it is a great example of how we can build capacity. In this school, teaching 15, 16, 17-year-olds the skill of CPR, the life-saving procedure, means that we're basically putting out into the world hundreds, if not thousands, in this whole region of young people, citizens, that will have this skill set and carry that skill set around with them for 50 or 60 or even 70 years. So you multiply that out and you look at the impact of learning a skill at this age and keeping that skill. And you'll keep the skill because you know staying alive, right? That's the reason I keep the skill. But if you think about 60 to 70 years of knowing what to do in that circumstance, that's a pretty bold impact that we're having here today with this partnership. So once again, Joe, thank you. Philip, thank you again for one of many. And we look forward to being a partner in this effort to stay alive and help everybody in our community live healthy and happier lives.
Before I introduce our next guest, I want to put this in a complete context. You students, potential bystanders, providing CPR to a loved one or to somebody that you don't know, but you respond to the event, part of a larger picture. I have to say that American Heart Association has the tools, but we're not able to deploy those tools without the assistance of Owensboro Health Grant Gibbs in order to be able to reach the students. Because it's just not bystander CPR. It's equipping the ambulances with 12 lead monitors. It's training them. It's training staff. It's providing protocols that if they follow the protocols will have better outcomes. But I'm telling you, it starts with the bystander. And I want to encourage you to do these courses, the CPR course, and I'm going to go through it just briefly in a sec, and teach the people at home. Right now, conventional wisdom is that if you see somebody that you witness going down, you do hands-only CPR. But if you don't know that person has been down for a long time, you have to do what we call traditional CPR, and we'll cover that in the course. Today, the students that will be up here will only do hands-only for a visual and to get an idea that's very easy to learn. But you have to use rescue breathing on an individual if you don't know how long he's been down. For somebody who is choking, for somebody who had electrical shock, someone near drowning, and always, always, always with pediatric patients, ages 1 through 12. Because usually, unless they have a congenital problem, their heart issue is related to a respiratory issue. They're very sick children. So that's the context. You, the bystander, so critical. So that when you respond, you're providing hope to the family and you're providing hope to EMS because they have something to work with, and as they go to the hospital and transport the patient into the ER, they have something to work with. It's very, very critical. And speaking of EMS and EMA, it's my pleasure to introduce John Cluse, who's Deputy Director of the EMA, who's also soon to be retired. Working at that, see, you know, McLean School, you know. And by the way, I do know how to say one of the counties correctly, Ohio. John?
Thank you. Dr. Brake, you told me I had an hour, right? Okay. Much like my friend and colleague, Dr. Brake, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, I too was a high school student. Was not here in Owensboro. I was from a place across the river to the north, about midway up. But in that time frame, in a month probably about like this, November, October time frame, I was on a hayride. And hayrides are a time of fun and excitement and friends and fellowship, and that's exactly what was going on. And then a tragic accident occurred. And I'll spare you the details of what happened, but I can tell you that we all couldn't help. We didn't know what to do. In that time, one of our friends passed on. But many of us made a decision at that time that we were not going to be helpless and we were not going to stand by and watch anymore. So one of the first things that we did was we set about to get some basic first aid training. And a part of that was CPR. One of the initial things that they taught us was the CPR process at that time, which has gone through several generations. So it's been around for a while, and it's been around a while because it works, and it works very well. CPR is a simple, easy to learn, life-saving mechanic measure that you can use. It's something that you'll take with you from these halls into the halls of your home and beyond. Once you learn CPR, you'll remember CPR. Staying alive, staying alive. It's a real simple beat to remember, and it's a very simple task to remember how to do. As we come into the holiday seasons here, we'll be at family gatherings. And many of our relatives, our loved ones, are elderly or in poor health. And this may be an opportunity that you can keep a holiday, a happy holiday, and not one where you're remembering a tragic event. Part of my job with emergency management is looking down the road at the weather forecast, and I have checked the Old Farmer's Almanac. It would appear that we're going to have a bit of snow this year. Folks shoveling snow, your neighbors, your family. CPR comes in handy to know those things. Everyone can do CPR. Small children can use it on adults and bigger people. So there's no reason not to learn, and there's no reason not to share that knowledge with other people, to teach others. And there's definitely no reason to stand by and wring your hands, because you can learn this and you can make it a tool that you will have for the rest of your life. Thank you.
I mentioned earlier about statistics and how many people will succumb to sudden cardiac arrest or cardiac arrest. But let's put it in a little more manner which you can understand it. If I were to ask everybody to stand up and say, every third person sit down, that's how many people, every third person, will have statistically, a cardiovascular event. If I were to ask that every fifth person sit down, that tells you how many individuals will be called upon to be a bystander providing CPR. We in the United States like to see complex problems solved by simple solutions, and it doesn't always happen that way, but this is a simple solution. As was mentioned by John and others, CPR is a valuable lifelong learning process, and we want to empower you to be able to do this if called upon, particularly as he mentioned about the holidays. There's nothing worse than all the family members standing around and not doing anything. Worse still, if they find out that someone in that family knew CPR and didn't use it. I can tell you that many times in the hospital, I've been doing this since 1968, learned CPR for the very first time in 1962, which according to my grandkids, I'm older than dirt. But I can tell you when we did go into the waiting room to meet the individuals, they either said, thank you for saving our loved one, or thank you for at least trying. You have to try. So with that, I'd like to call my students up to the stage who will be demonstrating CPR, in this case, hands-only CPR. I'm going to call them my not ready for prime time CPR rescuers. Turn around, we're going to show a brief clip And interestingly enough, if you look at the statistics at who responds, most often it's a teenager who responds to a cardiovascular event. So could we have the first part of the video, please?
As a paramedic, I've showed up several times. We get the call, 911, you have a response to a cardiac emergency or cardiac arrest, and everyone is just standing around, whether it's coworkers or whether it's loved ones. They could have been doing CPR prior to our arrival. And it's unfortunate because if we were able to have people doing CPR, it could possibly save that person's life.
When I had walked up to the bus stop, there was just this crowd just covering the entire sidewalk, and they were all just standing around this man on the ground who was turning purple, and nobody was doing anything. It was kind of frustrating because there was a ton of adults, like 30 adults standing around this man, and it took me, a teenager, to step over there and say that something needed to be done. Just because of the CPR training that I had received in high school, I knew what to do in a situation like that. I knew the signs of when somebody needs CPR, so my training kicked in, and it was kind of like being back in the classroom and responding to it. I told somebody to call 911, and I performed the CPR until the EMTs and the police department and the fire department came.
Everyone should know CPR because everyone has a heartbeat, and you never know when an emergency is going to happen, when someone may go into cardiac arrest. If you don't do CPR, then the person doesn't survive.
I didn't have any response from him, and when the EMTs arrived, they didn't get any response from him until they got him to the hospital, and when he was in the hospital, he was stabilized. When they told me that I had saved his life, I kind of started crying, but it was more like a relief tears that I had actually helped somebody instead of letting them die on the street.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now it's your turn, ladies. Face your audience. Take the box and put it behind you so you have the mannequin in front of you. And I'm going to walk you through. Now, this is for somebody that you've witnessed that went down to sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical problem with the heart. It just, for some reason, stopped. So, you want to turn perpendicular too. And so, I'm going to walk you through, all right? Have your eyes on it for a second. I know I'm not going to look at it, but you'll recover. So what you want to do is, come on the scene, you need to do this first. Put your hand up and say to somebody, call 911. Well, this is a participating, call 911, right? All right? Then you want to say, you, get an AED. Okay, listen to that a little louder. Very good. Now you want to check for responsiveness. And the reason you want to check for responsiveness, a lot of people can go down for a lot of different reasons. So you want to see if they respond to your stimulation. That would be tap on the shoulder. Go ahead, tap on the shoulder. No, we have to tap on the shoulder. Okay, then you want to say, are you all right? Are you okay? You know, I just witnessed this great theatrical stage and what they're doing back there. This is your opportunity. You may be discovered on this stage. Hollywood backup. So, you want to say, are you okay? Are you all right? Are you okay? Are you all right? You got to get your shoulder. Okay. Then you do compression. As was mentioned about the DGs, I graduated in June of '67. They weren't around yet. But, as was mentioned, the songs that you like is 103 beats per minute. We have to do 100 beats per minute. So you want to get up off your haunches. You want to be as close as possible to the patient because at my age, if I'm doing this from this distance, my back is going to let me know that we're not working anymore. Okay? You want to lock your elbows. You want to bring your hands like this, and you'll see there's what we're calling a breastplate there. Put your hands on that, and I just want you to kind of practice compressing. So go ahead and compress. Okay, you're doing it, but you have to do it where I can hear it clicking. See, these things will click, and if the mannequin is not fully inflated, it will not work. Okay? And your palm of the hand, here's the nipple line, the palm of the hand has to be right here on the breastplate. The palm, right on the breastplate. And really push down hard. Okay, we're getting better. Okay. That mannequin, I'm not going to ask you to do it, should probably be inflated more. I really have to worry about that. So we're going to go through this from the top. Okay. Ready? You, call 911.
You, call 911.
You, get the AED.
You, get the AED.
Are you okay? Are you all right?
Are you okay? Are you all right?
Compressions, my beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Keep it up. Keep doing it. I can watch you all day, ladies. I'm not feeling tired at all. I feel energized. In fact, keep on going. Give about 20 more compressions and I'll give you about a minute. Okay. This is your grandma, your grandfather. Okay, go ahead and stop. Okay. So when you do this in class, you want to make certain that the mannequin is inflated as much as you can do. And you should be able to hear the click. We're not, but that's okay. We're just demonstrating. Let's do it again. I mean, I feel energized. I'm not feeling any fatigue at all. And I'm 65. This is great. So, you, call 911.
You, call 911.
You, get the AED.
You, get the AED.
Are you okay? Are you all right?
Are you okay? Are you all right?
Compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep on going. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. You know, look at me. I'm just feeling great. By the way, you want to keep your eyes on the patient because your hands can migrate and maybe on their neck, and that's called choking. Not very good for the patient. They may complain later. A relative may complain later. Keep going. Oh, boy. Okay, keep going. You got about a minute to go. Funny thing about doing this, time slows down. You'll think that you've been doing it for 5 hours. In reality, it's about 2 minutes. It's funny how time and Einstein are intertwined. It's all relative. Okay, we're going to stop.